Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning and your credit card company calls to tell you that your minimum monthly payment just jumped from $500 to $5,000 overnight. Your palms start sweating, your heart starts racing, and you realize that decades of spending more than you earn has finally caught up with you. Well, that nightmare scenario isn't just happening to some unlucky person with terrible financial habits. It's happening right now to the entire United States of America. The United States is sitting on a debt bomb so massive that it makes every other financial crisis in history look like pocket change. We're talking about numbers so large they don't even feel real anymore. And the scariest part, the fuse is already lit and burning faster than anyone wants to admit. So how did the world's most powerful economy end up in this mess? When did we go from being the financial powerhouse that rebuilt Europe after World War II to a country that borrows money just to pay the interest on money we already borrowed? And most importantly, what happens when this whole house of cards finally comes crashing down? I spent weeks diving into government reports, historical data, and economic projections that would make your head spin. And what I found will shock you. Because this isn't just some distant problem for future generations to worry about. This debt crisis is happening right now, and it's about to change everything about how America works. But before we jump into the deep end of this financial disaster, let me paint you a picture of just how insane things have gotten. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, America's national debt is racing past $36 trillion. That's trillion with a T. To put that in perspective, if you spent $1 million every single day, it would take you over 98,000 years to spend $36 trillion. That's longer than modern humans have existed on this planet. And here's the kicker. That number isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Every single second that passes, America adds another $32,000 to the national debt. While you've been watching this video for the last minute, we've added almost $2 million to what we owe. It's like watching a financial train wreck in slow motion, except the train is picking up speed. Now you might be thinking, okay, that sounds bad, but America has always had debt, right? And you're absolutely correct. But here's where things get interesting and terrifying at the same time. Let's take a little trip back in history to see how we got here. When America first became a country in 1776, we actually started with debt. The Continental Congress had borrowed money to fight the Revolutionary War, and by 1791, the total national debt was about $75 million. That might sound like a lot, but adjusted for today's money, that's only about $2.5 billion. Compared to what we owe today, that's like comparing a puddle to the Pacific Ocean. For most of America's early history, debt was treated like a necessary evil. We'd borrow money during wars or emergencies, then actually pay it back during peacetime. Presidents like Andrew Jackson were so obsessed with eliminating debt that Jackson actually paid off the entire national debt in 1835. Can you imagine a president today bragging about paying off $36 trillion? It would be like claiming they personally taught every American how to speak fluent Mandarin. But something fundamental changed after World War II. America emerged as the dominant global superpower with the world's reserve currency. And having that kind of power was like giving a teenager unlimited access to daddy's credit card. Suddenly, borrowing money didn't feel like borrowing anymore. It felt like printing free wealth. The 1970s marked a turning point that most people don't talk about. That's when America really started treating debt like a renewable resource instead of a temporary necessity. Defense spending ramped up during the Cold War, social programs expanded dramatically, and politicians discovered something magical. They could promise voters everything they wanted without having to raise taxes to pay for it. Just put it on the national credit card and let future Americans deal with the bill. By the time we hit the 2000s, something had fundamentally broken in how America thought about money. We went from treating debt like an emergency measure to treating it like a normal part of doing business. And the numbers reflect this shift in a way that should terrify everyone. In 2001, the national debt was about $5.5 trillion. That sounds huge until you realize that in just over 20 years, we've increased that number by more than 6 times. We've added more debt in the last 2 decades than we accumulated in the first 225 years of America's existence combined. But here's where this story gets really interesting and really scary. Because the problem isn't just how much we owe. The problem is what happens when the bill comes due. Think about your monthly budget for a second. You've got your rent, your groceries, your car payment, maybe some student loans. Now imagine that every month a bigger and bigger chunk of your paycheck goes just to paying interest on old debts. Not paying down the actual debt, just covering the interest. Eventually, you'd reach a point where you're spending more on interest than you are on food. That's exactly what's happening to America right now, and we're approaching that terrifying tipping point faster than anyone wants to admit. Here's the part that should make your stomach drop. In 2024, America spent over $800 billion just on interest payments for our existing debt. That's more than we spend on national defense, more than we spend on education, more than we spend on veterans' benefits. We're literally paying more money to service our debt than we are to protect our country or educate our children. It's like paying more for your credit card interest than you do for your mortgage, your car, and your groceries combined. And remember that $800 billion doesn't reduce our debt by even a single penny. It's just the cost of keeping our creditors happy so they don't come knocking on our door demanding immediate payment. We're essentially paying rent on money we already spent years ago. But here's where this gets absolutely insane. Those interest payments aren't staying at $800 billion. They're projected to hit $1 trillion annually within the next few years. Think about that for a moment. $1 trillion every single year just to service debt we've already accumulated. That's roughly the entire GDP of countries like Indonesia or the Netherlands. We're going to be spending the economic output of entire nations just to keep our creditors from panicking. Now you might be wondering, who exactly are these creditors? Who's loaning America all this money? The answer might surprise you. About 25% of our debt is owned by foreign countries, with China and Japan being the biggest holders. But the majority of our debt is actually owned by Americans themselves through pension funds, insurance companies, and individual investors who buy treasury bonds. So when people talk about America owing money to China, they're only seeing part of the picture. The bigger issue is that we owe money to everyone, including ourselves. It's like borrowing money from your retirement account to pay your credit card bill, then borrowing from your savings account to pay your retirement account, then borrowing from your emergency fund to pay your savings account. Eventually, you run out of pockets to pick. But here's the truly mind-bending part about how we got to this point. Politicians have discovered that debt is politically invisible until it explodes. When a politician promises a new program or a tax cut, voters see the immediate benefit. But the debt that pays for it doesn't show up as a problem until years or even decades later. It's the perfect crime because by the time the bill comes due, the politicians who created the debt are long gone, and someone else has to deal with the consequences. This creates what economists call a moral hazard. There's no immediate penalty for bad financial decisions, so the bad decisions keep getting made over and over again. It's like playing poker with someone else's money. You're going to make much riskier bets because you don't personally face the consequences if you lose. So here we are, staring down the barrel of the largest debt crisis in human history. We've gone from Andrew Jackson paying off the entire national debt to owing $36 trillion and counting. The clock is ticking, the interest payments are exploding, and we're running out of time to fix this mess before it fixes us. The question isn't whether this debt bomb will explode, it's whether we'll have the courage to defuse it before it's too late.